So welcome to KubeCon, Cloud Native Con India. So I am Harkirat Singh, a software engineer at Yeti Labs and open source contributor at OpenKruise. So my talk is about, so we will be diving deep into how OpenKruise Rollout, like it's a project that fundamentally changed. It's a project that fundamentally changed how we approach progressive delivery on Kubernetes, and what makes this unique is like it's the only solution out there which add enterprise grade like rollout support to your existing deployments without migrating CRDs, right, to someone else, right? So as a CNCF project, this is battle tested and to your stack, and let's break down how exactly this works. So what is OpenKruise? So OpenKruise is the extended component suited for Kubernetes with mainly focus on application automation such as deployment, ops, and security, right? And mostly feature provided by OpenKruise are built on top of the CRD extension, so they could work with your pure cluster, right? So without any other dependency. So what are we going to learn is like what is progress delivery, what are workloads, and how rollout works, and how OpenKruise rollout manage the traffic. So what is progress delivery, right? So this is not a term that we created, right? It's a well-established concept in GitOps world, especially in tools like Argo CDs. But what OpenKruise bring is the native Kubernetes implementation that work with your existing deployments, and you don't have to migrate to any CRD, right? And the core idea is simple, right? We are doing incremental delivery, right? So incremental delivery is like you don't have to do the big bang deployments, right? We will do everything in phases, right? So we do this in two parts. One is instance, another is traffic. So instance is like we roll out the new version of prod gradually, and traffic is like we move the traffic to the new word gradually. So that's how we bring the rollout capability to your existing deployments. And you could have automatic pause between stages. You could do metric analysis using Prometheus. We provide some of the like labels like rollout ID, batch ID, which you could use to filter your metrics and if it works with your logic, right? So you can pause it, you can roll back it, and you could enable automation with your GitOps, right? With any CI/CD pipelines, right? And this is example of progress delivery. So I will tell you how exactly progress delivery work. So whenever we start the rollout, so what happens is whenever a new version is detected, like suppose a container image is updated in a deployment, right? So OpenKruise initiate a controlled and staged rollout process. Unlike Kubernetes native, which is all or nothing approach, right? We do everything in phases, right? Then we move to the next step, which is instant deployment, where we scale up the pod with the new version gradually, right? So we have something like batches. So in batch one, we'll scale like 20% of replicas, batch two 30%, and in batch 3 it would be the final batch where we would scale out the 100% of replicas. So yeah, we also do something different. We decouple pod scaling from traffic shifting, right? So new pods are validated before receiving traffic. So yeah. So the second part is traffic scheduling, right? We shift the traffic incrementally. For canary, we do it like 5%, 20, then 100, right? And for blue-green, we do is instant cutover, like after the full validation, right? And this is where like OpenKruise shine. It integrated with your existing ingress gateway APIs, so you don't need any service mesh. And we talk about strategy. So we support canary, multi-batch, blue-green, A/B testing. So A/B testing and canary are like the same, right? We use pod labels like rollout ID, batch ID for metric filtering. And blue-green is also a strategy which you could receive like a zero downtime, because we keep the min ready second, right? The field, right, to infinity, right? And this way you could preserve your HPA, PDB compatibility and no duplicate resources. And multi-batch is also a most used strategy because gateways are not easy to implement, right? So in multi-batch, you don't have to do anything with traffic, right? It's just without traffic, right? So we just stage the pod deployment, right? So the key advantage is that it works with your existing deployments, so you don't have to go to any CRDs, unlike you have to do with Argo CD and Flux, right? Also, we do that is like invalidate. We validate the ports like via the label, which is rollout ID, batch ID, and you could post here if your logic is great, right? You would move to the next part, right? The next step of the rollout, and if your logic is not correct, right? So you could move rollback and it would be instance rollover. And we also release your deployment controller or stateful set controller back to you. So, yep. And yep, that's about an example of a progress delivery. And we make the Y the desired version and we scale down all the port of X. Okay, so we will learn about Kubernetes workloads, right? So Kubernetes like handle pod orchestration, right? But lack progressive delivery, like capabilities. Like we will learn about how deployment rolling update strategy. So it has three field by which you could have a partially, like we could have a rollout, like you could have max unavailable. It's like define how many pod would be unavailable during update. Suppose if you have 10 replicas, if you keep the max unavailable to 2, means 8 pod must keep the traffic running and 2 pod will be gradually shifted to the new version. So max search is like determine how many pod could be created like extra, like if you give 20%, 20% or 25%, and it would be created beyond that desired count. Pause is like you could manually pause, unpause the deployment, and this is also a secret weapon, right? So OpenKruise set the pause field to true, so which means that we freeze your deployment controller. So the kube controller manager doesn't have control of deployment anymore. So we do the thing in batches. So yep. So that's about deployment. And stateful set handle the like stateful app differently using partition. So partition is like keep n number of port running, right, during the update. And yep, we could do here, like unlike deployment and stateful set, you could like stateful set can stage a rollout, but it still lack traffic control. But OpenKruise is that it bridge your gap, right? We bring port scheduling, scaling as well, and traffic shifting to the new ports as well. Okay. So how OpenKruise enhances the native workload, right? So for deployment, as I told, right, we have a field called pause. We keep it to true so that the kube controller manager doesn't have the control over it. So we could gradually scale out the rollouts in batches, right? And this way we preserve your HPA PDB configuration, right? And you could continue working, and you don't need to migrate to any other CRD, right? And we're gonna also talk about some alternative to Cruise Rollout, right? So we have a famous project, Argo. So Argo has something called Argo Rollout. So Argo Rollout, you have to migrate to their own CRDs, right? So they have their own deployments, right? Stateful set, which you have to migrate to. And it doesn't integrate well with other platform solutions, right? It is tightly coupled with Argo, GitOps thing, right? So this was about Argo, right? We also have Flagger. So it's the project by Flux, right? So what Flagger does, it copies your input deployment, right? And uses that copied workload for the rollout. So this way we are managing like 2 deployments, means it's duplicating your resources. And it doesn't have the support for multi-batch, and you need an extra deployment rollout if is required in the end for a blue-green deployment. And workload tool such as customize HPA PDB is not supported. Okay, so Cruise Rollout core competency, right? So we are non-intrusive, right? So you don't have to migrate to any CRD. So we work with your native deployment APIs. You doesn't have to modify any user-defined resources. And we adopt with your existing workloads and no rebuild required. We are flexible. We work with multiple gateways, right? Nginx, Ingress, right? All that, and work with other customized network provider as well. right? And usability is like, if you know how to write a YAML, that's how easy to write a rollout in OpenKruise. So it is ready to use with anything like Argo CD, right? Helm, Qvela, or any platform solutions. So we're gonna learn about how cruise rollout work, right? So what happen is like when we trigger the phase, right? So suppose anything like you change is like directly change the cube, CTL you apply it, right? And any image changes, right? So we detect it, we trigger the workload upgrade. So and what cruise rollout does is like we pause the workload because we want to take the full control. So the KCM or the deployment controller doesn't have the controller over the replica set. So we do that ourselves, right? We gradually move the things in batches, right? And also here you can see that we adjust the workload knobs, right? We have something like for deployment we use pause to true, right? And strategy to recreate. And for stateful set, we do something like min ready setting to infinity so that the pods are in an unready state, right? And also we label the pod with like batch ID, rollout ID, which you could use further for like your metric, like if you use Prometheus or if you use any other solution out there for pod filtering, right? Okay, and yep. You don't need to have to rewrite your existing deployment YAMLs. This way we preserve your HPA PDB compatibility. And yep, that was basically about how Cruise rollout work internally. So you could see it's a difference between as well, like with Argo rollout, Flux, and Cruise rollout. So we support multi-batch. We support multi-batch for deployment, stateful set. Also, we have OpenKruise contain a set of advanced workloads such as clone set, advanced stateful set, advanced daemon set, and broadcast. So we have a lot of customized workloads as well. So they all support not all basic feature, where like they are similar to what we have in Kubernetes, right? So they are more advanced. Like they have abilities like in-place update and configurable scale and upgrade strategy, parallel operation, and in-place update is a new methodology to update the container image and even the environment. It only restart the specific container with a new image, and the pod would not will be recreated. So which led to much faster update process and much less like side effects and on the subsystem such as like scheduler, CNI, or CSI. So you could also see the canary. We support A/B testing for deployment, blue-green for deployment and clone set. This is the difference between Argo, Flux, and Cruise. Yep. So this is how actually we write a Cruise rollout API. So you have to install our the rollout API, right? You could do it with Helm, right? Or you could kubectl apply, right, to install this. And in basically, you see we have spec, which is workloads ref, which contain for which deployment or stateful set you want to have a rollout. So in the strategy, we have different strategy like canary, blue-green, multi-batch. Multi-batch is just canary, but it doesn't have any traffic, right? So if we remove traffic, it would be multi-batch. So this is a canary in which you see we have steps, right? So in first step, it's like we will have one replica and we will give it 5% of the traffic, right? And in second step, it would happen in everything would be in steps, right? And it would be required, you would be requiring to like approve it, the rollouts, right? If it's from one step one, you have to approve to rollout 2. You could do it like automatically as well, but we also give you the control, right? If you want to do that. In step 2, it would be like 20%. It would be paused like for 60 seconds. Like here it's the automation, right? It will pause for 60 seconds. And after 60 seconds, 20% of the traffic would be scheduled, right? We also support traffic routing as well. So this is a basic Cruise rollout API. So here you see multi-batch. So multi-batch strategy is like special kind of a canary release that doesn't require extra workload for canary analysis, right? It's generally used by application that have more than one replica and often used without traffic route changes, right? Currently, multi-batch strategy can be work on clone set, stateful set, advanced daemon set, and deployments. and also stateful set. So what happened here is like how we support multi-batch, as I told earlier, right? We play with the webhook, right, of the Kube server API, right? We set the post to true and the strategy to recreate. This way, the replica set is not controlled by the KCM, right? And we do it ourselves, right? We do the rollout ourselves so that you could preserve your existing HPA PDB. And after the rollout is completed, right? So we also release the like deployment, right? We set it again to untrue, right? False, so that after rollout, it's released, right? So here you see a basic example, right? So you see we have specified the API version, metadata, spec. In spec, you see workload ref. So we have API version for which we have deployment, and the name, it would be workload demo, right? So the strategy is canary. So we have step, which is replica 1, and step 2, replica 50, replica 100%. So what would happen here is like one pod will be updated, and the replica 1 pod is still at the stable revision in first batch and need a manual confirmation, like from your side to move to next batch, right? And at the second step, what would happen is like 50% of the board would be updated and 50% of the board is still at the stable revision, and it still need your manual confirmation to move to third step, right? And at third step, it would be like 100% of the board will be updated and 0 board would be in the stable revision in the third batch. So yeah. So in what happened is like we don't create extra deployment during the rollout progress. This is about blue-green strategy for deployment and how we actually support blue-green. So we again play with the webhook, right? So we update the particular workload. Suppose like for blue-green, what we do is like we set the min ready second to infinite. So the pod is always in an unready state, right? And also we do is like we set the progress deadline second to also infinite, and max surge is like up to you how much you want to set, right? And this way we could achieve blue-green, right? So blue-green is only applicable to deployment and clone set, right? And it's only supported in V1 beta 1, right? API version. And both like clone set and deployment achieve blue-green release by setting the min ready second, max surge, and max unavailable field. Therefore, if you notice this field being unchanged, right, using the blue-green strategy, right, you don't need to worry about this, because after the rollout, we will release those controllers back to you, and it would be restored, right? So this is about gateway APIs and how actually we support gateway APIs within OpenKruise, right? So this is about traffic routing configuration based on Lua. So Cruise Rollout utilize a Lua scripting, right, based to like customization approach for gateways resources like Kuma, right, STO, and Cruise Rollout evoke like Lua script to retrieve and update the desired configuration of the gateway resources based on the release strategy and the original configuration of the gateway resources, including the spec, labels, annotation. So it enables users to easily adapt and integrate various type of gateway resources without modifying the existing code. Since like Cruise Rollout also support using gateway APIs to configure traffic routing, and one can also use the corresponding gateway APIs implementation for specific gateway resources. However, the implementing a full-blown gateway system is hard to implement. So you could use Lua scripting, and one could manipulate the arbitrary gateway resources for traffic routing only and avoid complexity of introducing gateway APIs. And what's next? Okay, so this is the example of how Nginx Lua script demo, right? So we have a lot of demos out there by like provided by community as well. So you could see that in our community repo. Okay, so as I told earlier, we have something like labels like rollout ID, batch ID. So what you could do with this label is that you could filter your logic, right? Metric logic You could use in Prometheus or any patch, right? We also have a CLI, right, which is Cruise, right? You could, it's just a plugin with the kubectl. We could install like crew install Cruise. So you could use the describe command to see the rollouts, where exactly the rollout is, like whether it's progressing or which step it is. And you could also approve the rollout from that basically command, right? That would be cruise rollout approve, and you could do the move to the next batch. So here in the example you see it's a step 2 and it need a manual confirmation from your side to proceed to next batch. So this is our repo basically about where we I will show the demo about GitOps, right? And let me just share you, right? Okay. So in this demo you see that we have basic, like we are doing the deployment, right? So the deployment is created, and you could see the deployment YAML, right? So just give me 1 second. It's a video, so you could see that. Just give. Okay. So we have a rollout YAML. So in that we provided the metadata that and the workload left to deployment and the name to echo server. We are using a multi-batch here, so you need to manually confirm it to proceed to next batch. And here you could see that if we change version there, right, and we apply this deployment, then the rollout would be initiated, and this means that we are intercepted your deployment. So just give me 1 second. Okay, you could move it forward. It doesn't. So okay, so you see there, like here is the kubectl. We get the rollouts. So with that command, you could get how many rollout you have, right? So the name was rollout demo, right? It has the status progressing, and it is like waiting for you to manually confirm it to move to next step, right? And you have to manually use the command which is approve to move to next batch. So that's where we use the command approve to move to the next batch, and now 50% of the replica would be created, and it would be still at that position, and for third step you need to manually confirm it. So this is a multi-batch example that I showed you. So here you see that it's still in progressing state, right? It is at step 2, right? You could see that the message is like, we are at step 2, if you need to move to next batch, you have to manually confirm it. So, yep. Okay, we approved that, and now we are at the rollout has been completed, and we release the control back to you about that. So the OpenKruise, using OpenKruise, you could move to, you don't have to move to any custom CRD, right? It works with your existing deployment. You have to just write the rollout API, right, for which you want to have the rollout, and that basically you could implement the rollout. Yep, that was basically about this, and thank you. If anyone has any question regarding this, that would be great. We also have a community Slack channel where you could participate. Yep. Yep.
will it work along with Argo CD deployments?
Yep. No, it would work with your like native Kubernetes deployments.
Okay, so in one of the slide you mentioned that it works with Argo CD. So I just
No.
wanted to understand.
So it work with like in one of the it's the Argo CD the platform like if you want to use the labels right like port filtering labels for to match your logic.
Okay, basically it won't support.
No, it
We'll
won't
have to.
support.
Okay.
It won't support their own like CRDs.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's automated as well. So there's a field called duration, right, in which you could mention the duration to 0 as well or 60 seconds. So it will wait for 60 seconds and automatically roll back to like roll out to the next batch. Yep. Yep. It just check the status before. If anything happen between that, if the deployment is not working properly, it roll backs automatically. Also, we have some LFX mentorship like this fall, right? So if you guys are interested, just hop on the Slack. We have 4 mentorship. So that's basically about this. You could join, if you are in CNCF Slack, you could search for the slash OpenKruise right channel and you could be part of that. Yep. Thank you, everyone.
There's one more thing. So do you support like a bit more custom rollout strategies? Like for example, sometimes old pods might have some processing that needs to finish before they can be removed from the replica set. So in those cases, like do you support any more or do you plan to support any like custom rollout strategy based on some processes or queries or requests running in older pods?
Right now we don't support it. We have just Canary, multi-batch, and the A/B testing and the blue-green. So that is the like rollout we have right now, like strategies. So if you wanna share about that, you could like come to our Slack, and there are maintainers there that could handle this query, right? Yep.
Thanks.
Yep. Yep. Canary, multi-batch, A/B testing. A/B testing is like similar to Canary, and Canary is just like if you don't have traffic there, like I mentioned, traffic to 5%, then it would be simply multi-batch. So if you don't have like if you don't do the traffic thing right, it would be multi-batch. If you add traffic, it would be Canary, and if you Canary and A/B testing are just similar. Yep. Thank you guys. It was my first time.